forgiveness does not actually mean allowing that person to do that to you over and over and over and over again. Forgiveness does not mean that you allow toxic treatment or any type of bad treatment, very bad, what do they call it, like domestic violence, or different things like that, like just very bad treatment. It doesn't mean that you have to actually allow that treatment to continue, right? So in other words, you forgive somebody in your heart always, meaning you don't hold it against them, you don't hold it over their head, you don't relive the situation over and over and over again in your mind. You don't go in your mind every day, you're like, oh, I hate that person, they're so mean, or you don't stay in that energy of like, I don't like that person, or I'm not gonna ever, wish well upon him, I'm not gonna pray for him, or I hate him, or whatever, right? Because you gotta forgive and release, right? But your boundaries and your discernment allows you to look at the situation and see, is this a pattern of bad treatment that this person has? Is this a pattern of theirs? Do they have a pattern of showing toxic, bad behavior, nasty treatment to their partners? Do they have a pattern of speech like this? Is this a pattern for them? Are they always disrespectful? Are they always nasty? Do they always cross boundaries? Was this a one-time thing? Or was this many times things? Or is this a pattern that I can see in their life? Okay, discernment will allow you to look at the situation like that, and your boundaries will either prevent that from happening to you again, or allowing it, depending on, what you feel comfortable with, right? And again, what is okay for me and what is okay for another person is two different things. Like the way that I was raised and with the way my confidence is set up, right? And the way I am, I don't accept bad treatment, right? And, I'll give forgiveness for sure. But if I'm looking at a pattern, or I'm looking at something that I know I cannot win, like mental instability, like severe mental instability, right? Like truly something that I could forgive a million times, but this is going to continue to happen because this is somebody who's dealing with true mental issues, right? Whether that person wants to agree to that or understands that or sees it that way or not, it doesn't matter. I can, through discernment, see that that's actually what I'm dealing with. Okay? Then my boundaries say, you know what? You had 1, 2, or 3, whatever. You had whatever many times to do this to me. I forgive you, but now you got to go over there. Now you got to go over there away from me because you're making my fangs come out and you are, taking me outside of my Christian role, and I'm getting out of my Christian lane as a woman to step over and, put up walls and, boundaries and, defend myself or whatever, or have to come across as, not so sweet Christian woman who is like gonna just lay down and take anything. Okay. And I say this because I have talked to other women like me who are Christian women and understand the man's role and will allow him to take the lead and all that kind of stuff. And they have also been misunderstood by these different type of men who took advantage of their Christian views, right? Especially of like, oh, well, you can't divorce me because, God don't like a divorcing, so I can treat you any kind of way because you can't divorce me. Just because maybe I can't divorce you doesn't mean that you get the gift of me in your life. It doesn't mean that you get my energy. It doesn't mean that you get to spend time with me. It doesn't mean, if you want to keep these papers because, I can't divorce you, but you think it's okay to just treat me any type of way or talk to me any type of, and it's a severe thing. Like I'm talking about a severe, toxic, berating, whatever, nasty, or cheating on, or whatever kind of abuse, right? Like real abuse. that would chip away at anybody's self-confidence, right? And that person is standing on the fact that, well, the Bible says, and God said, and aren't you supposed to be a Christian or whatever? Okay, yeah, sure. So to that I say, you go ahead, and there's a picture of me over there. You go ahead and look at that picture of me in your house over there, and you can pretend to be married to me or whatever you want to say, whatever, or pretend that I'm in the house, right? And if that makes you feel good, because I am removing my energy from you, and you will not be allowed to, experience this person. Okay, this person's self-esteem and boundaries and everything is set up a lot different than maybe some of your other past or other Christian women that you've had or whatever. And this one over here says, enough is enough, and I have no problem with, pulling my fangs out and, just removing myself. And it's as simple as that. And that's how I roll. And I use that for me. I do that with anybody. I don't care if it's a family member. I don't care if it's, a spouse. I don't care if it's a friend. I don't care if it's a workmate. I have literally had, I remember experience I had in, I worked for a vitamin store, a very popular vitamin store that's still, around today in the mall, when I worked at the Mac counter in Florida. Okay. I worked at the Mac counter, and I would always go downstairs and get some vitamins, whatever's on sale or whatever. I was there all the time. And because vitamins, herbs and vitamins and all that is like one of my second loves. I read the book very young, whatever. I'm always helping people, or I'd be bringing people to come to the store to muscle test on them and whatever, and let them get whatever supplements they needed. Anyway, I was always doing that. That the manager at the store begged me. She kept begging me to work there part-time because I already was there at the mall anyway. And she's like, we need help so bad. I need somebody. So-and-so just quit. Now I only got 2 employees left. Please. She kept begging me. So I finally just said, okay, I'll do it part-time. At least I'll get my 30% and I'll go ahead and do it, And I actually liked the job, I liked it because I liked helping customers, and I liked the knowledge. We had to take tests all the time on the little computer while we were waiting for customers to come in. Anyway, this particular company or whatever, they wanted you to get people to sign up for their membership thing for the discount. And to do that, the manager taught me and showed me to offer a free blender bottle. One of the blender bottles, a shaker bottle, protein shake bottle, to get people to join and sign up in the program. This is literally what she showed me to do. Okay. And that's what I did. Okay. So I got people to sign up all the time, and I gave them those free bottles or whatever. And I was doing that. And I think I was there for about 3 or 4 months at this particular store, at this 3-letter vitamin store. Okay, I'm not trying to talk bad about them, but anyway, and so I did that. I was there, like I said, a few months. I don't know how long, but anyway, loss prevention guy came into the store. He just came in, like they like to do, and I guess they check things out or whatever they do. But you know how loss prevention guys, a lot of times loss prevention men are people with power trips. They're men with power trips. Like, to me, I say they act like men who have, who can't have good, they don't have no good at the house. Like, they just act like they have sperm retention. Okay. I mean, that's where they act. But anyway, that's how they act. Really nasty. But anyway, this guy came in and was like, I literally did that whole thing right in front of him. I gave out the blender bottle, to get somebody to sign up or whatever. And he ripped me a new one. When the customer left, he was like, I can't believe you just did that. You just zeroed out that blender bottle, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe you did that. What gives you the right to do that? And I looked and I said, that's what I was taught to do. I was taught to offer the membership thing or whatever, and to, if they hesitated or whatever, just to offer them an incentive as giving them the blender bottle. That's what I was taught. And he went off on me. He went off on me. He still went off on me. He was so disrespectful in his manner of speech. Now, clearly, if I thought I was doing something wrong or thought it was something I should hide, I would have done it right in front of him. Number two, he went off on me, and then he went to the office and pulled out a report. And then he was like, look at all these 23 blender bottles that you've given away for free, and that's like stealing from the company. You basically stole from the company. Now, mind you, I didn't get anything. I got no commission for getting people to sign up. Zero. I got no commission for it. Was just something that we had to do. We just absolutely had to get people to sign up. And I was just doing that, right? But he was like, you stole these blender bottles, and you owed the store whatever, $400 and some dollars, whatever, in blender bottles. I don't remember now. But when he came and he went off on me, and then went in the office, he pulled that out, and then he also yelled at me. I mean, he was yelling at me so bad and in my face so much I could feel his spit on my face. And he kind of had me backed up against the wall in a way, and in my face, like this close, screaming at me, you're stealing. I mean, it was really nasty. It was nasty. In fact, I remember standing there, and after a few seconds of being accosted, right, I literally could feel my fangs come out. And I literally pushed on him to get out of my face. And I said, okay, you know what? You can talk to the manager. This is what she told me to do. And you can also let her know that I won't be coming into work tomorrow. I literally quit that day. And they were down, again, employees. She didn't have enough employees. And so when I came in, I got my last check or whatever. I came in to get that last, whatever. She was like crying because, first of all, you know, it was her fault. Okay, she knew that. But also because I was her best employee. And she was like, I should have told you that was just something that I did. And we were not allowed to really do that or whatever. And, you know, basically I threw her under the bus without knowing that I threw her under the bus. Okay. And now she was also written up or whatever, and at risk of losing her job. And for her, she was a manager, so this was a big deal or whatever. But she was crying and upset about the whole thing. And I looked at her and said, that man was so disrespectful, and he was accusing me of stealing, and I was like, if you are about, or you think you're about to let me go and put on my record or something that I'm stealing, when I know I'm just doing what I was trained, and I don't have not one blender bottle at the house or whatever, I was like, no way, you're not gonna talk to me like this. I told her, I said, literally push him out of my way, and literally was like, I'm getting my stuff. I'm a grown woman, and in fact, I'm a mother of two, and in fact, I'm not even working this job because I'm only here for the discount because the manager begged me to work here. You guys are the one that's losing a good employee, and this right here is so unacceptable. Anyway, later on, some higher ups ended up calling me. They tried to beg me to come back when I explained to them what happened and how that man was so disrespectful. And I know loss prevention needs to be like a type of way or whatever. I said, but I'm a female. This guy was way taller and bigger than me, and he was in my face, and he had me up against the wall practically, like in a corner, like he was trying to bum rush me or something. I said, I'm not treated that way. I got a whole husband at the house, and he don't talk to me like that. Okay, so I don't know who he is or whatever. I said, you guys need to work on that, and I'll never work for your company again. I'm sorry. You should have not sent that man coming in here, loss prevention or whatever, and whatever. Like, no, thank you. Y'all can keep that. The job ain't that great to me. I mean, literally is what I said. Like, the job is not that great. So anyway, I say all that to say, he made my fangs come out. And I literally was, whatever I said, to be honest, like I said, I pushed him out the way, and I did. I gave him a couple choice words. Okay, I definitely gave him some choice words and was like, yeah, I'm done. You go ahead and whatever power you think you have over me, I'm taking that away because I quit. Don't even worry. I'm not coming in. You can let everybody know, whatever. You'll need to not worry about writing anything up because this employee doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so that's how I respond to like different situations like that. My self-esteem doesn't say, oh my God, I got to take this treatment from this guy and the manager, and I don't know if I can get another job. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it. I'm not sure if I'll have, the ability to. No, I'm going to pray to my God about it. I'm going to pray. He's going to guide and lead me to wherever my next blessing is, wherever I'm supposed to be. He will guide me to the next spot. I've never had a problem getting a job, like ever. And so I'm talking about from the time I was young, whatever, because God always leads me. I always pray about everything and make sure, and go wherever I feel that I'm led, right? So the point is, some people think though that they can just talk to somebody and chip away at your confidence or chip away at who you are, or say mean things, right? And say things that will chip away at you in a way so that they think that if they break you down enough that you will stay with them, or that you will be scared of them, that they will like whip you into shape, right? I know men and women who do this type of thing. That's their personality. That's the way they are. That's how they communicate. That's how they operate. That is the pattern that they show. The pattern that how they show up in relationships, right? When you use your discernment, okay, and you see, okay, this is a pattern. It's like you forgive, but you don't allow that treatment. You go ahead and put up your boundary and you remove yourself, right? Everybody is different with what and how far, okay? But somebody like me, I take that energy and fuel it to find another job, fuel it to find somebody else, fuel it to prove to that person, you don't own me, or no, I'm not taking that treatment. And actually, what you just said about me is that I'm the complete opposite, okay? I literally use it as fuel to run on, to literally grow above and beyond, okay? And I have always been that way my entire life. Whenever I've had anybody come at me in any type of way or say something to me, and I know for a fact, like they were coming out of their butt, they had no right or whatever, right? It's like literally I've had someone say to me, because when I am angry, I do kind of have choice words, and and it's like, you made my fangs come out. You made my fangs come out. You made my horns come up. And it's like, no, you don't deserve me either as a girlfriend or as a wife or as a employee or as a friend or whatever. I remember I even had a man one time, a young man. I was young, and this was before I got married. And I was working in Orlando by the airport. And this guy who wanted to date me, actually, I forgot about this. He liked me or whatever, I don't know. And I let him take me out. We went out a few times or something. And I remember he wanted to work out at the gym. He wanted to go do a workout. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He can go do a workout. And so I went with him. And so the gym that I went to, he was like, we're going to go to the gym. Well, the gym that I went to was his apartment gym. Now, I was in the car with him, and I had already said, like, I'm not going back to your house because we're not doing that or whatever. Like, nah, we just getting to know each other kind of thing. But I'm like, I'm not doing that. Well, he had me in his car. We were going to go out, but then it was like, change of plans, and he wanted to go to the gym, and the gym was at his apartment. Right there, my antennas went up, because I was like, okay, you're pushing my boundaries. You're already pushing my boundaries. This is how I'm looking at it. I'm like, you're pushing my boundaries. What do you have up your sleeve now, right? And anyway, so he wanted to go to the gym, and then I remember we got there, and he was like, oh, I gotta go. I'm gonna run to my spot to go get something. He had to go get something or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I'll sit here and wait or whatever. And so somehow, I don't know what it was, but somehow he wanted me to go. It was like he kept trying to convince me to go with him to go get something. Anyway, whatever it was, I don't even remember if it was a towel. I don't remember what it was, but it was something he said, because it's been years and years. This is before I was even married. I just remember being there at the gym, or in the gym, the little gym part of the apartment or whatever. And I remember him trying to basically coerce me to go to his apartment. And I was like, what do you think I am? Do you think I'm born? What do you think? I was born yesterday? Like, you think I don't know what you're trying to do, right? But I could just tell, right? And then because I said no several times, like, I'll just wait. It's no problem. I'll just wait. Like, it's like, no, I'm not going home. Why? I mean, so it got me thinking, like, why are you trying to get me, like, stuck in your house? Are you trying to get me trapped in your house so you can do something? Like, what do you think? I'm stupid? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I was thinking in my head, right? So after a couple of attempts of him trying, he got angry. Like, he literally got angry. He was like, ugh. And he said something. I don't remember what he said. Now, mind you, we weren't even, like, officially dating. We were not even officially dating or anything. I can't even remember the guy's name, okay? I know we went out a couple times or whatever. And we worked together at work. Anyway, he got mad because I didn't cave. I didn't go with him, right? And he said something nasty. I don't remember what he said, but basically, let's say he said something like, you make me sick or something like that. Let's just say he said something like that. But it was under his breath as he walked out, like he was going to go. And like he had to go get whatever to his apartment, right? Okay, now mind you, I rode with him. Okay, I rode with him, so I did not have my car. My car was at the job. And also, this was not where we were supposed to be going, right? This was like a side or a stop that was not like, was supposed to be on the way to dinner or whatever, right? So then I didn't go with him. Okay, so then he got mad, and I saw it in his eyes. I could see it in his eyes, and I saw like the kind of turn of his attitude. Let me tell you something. He went to his apartment. By the time he came back, I was gone. I was gone. He didn't see me again until the next time he saw me at work. Okay, now, mind you, my car was at the airport where I worked, at the rental car place that I worked at. My car was there. I was clear on the other side of town. Okay, so I was with him. And I was like, boom, gone. I was nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. And I didn't have no smartphone or whatever. I think we had pagers back then or something, but I didn't even remember. But anyway, the point is that I was gone. He had no idea where I was. He did not see me again, and he only ever saw me from that point on at work. And he continued to try to, like, what happened? Where did you go? Or what was the problem? Or where did, like, blah, blah. And I just said, I didn't like the vibe I got. I didn't like the vibe. No, it's good. We're good. And it was literally like, forgive you, but I'm out. Okay. Now, what I did is I walked out of the gym and I found a woman with some babies. She had babies, but she had like 2 kids with her, and she had like 2 kids and a baby. I remember that, getting in her car. And I walked over to her. I felt like I could trust her. I just did. And I said, you know what, ma'am? I'm trying to get away from an abusive situation right now, and I need a ride back to my car. It's all the way over there. I just need a ride. And I'll be more than willing to pay you if you please just give me a ride. I just need to get out of this development. I need to get out of here ASAP. And she looked at me. She's like, absolutely. She was Spanish woman, very nice. And she was like, oh, mamacita, whatever. Yes, come on. Let's get in. Let's go. I just remember, I felt it in my spirit that I could trust her. Like, I just knew it. I prayed about it, of course. And I'm sure God led me to her. But anyway, I rode with her. She took me right to my car. I paid her. And very nice woman. And it was fine. But I got out of that situation. I was like, nah, I'm not about to get stuck over there. I don't know. I didn't trust it. And because I didn't trust it, he made it even worse, right? The point is, he got the point. He knew that he crossed the boundary. He knew from that point on, we were done. And he was literally, it was like, do not pass go. And I'm not the one. Find another one. I'm not the one. Whatever your little, because he was acting a little controlling. And it was a little, to me, it was a red flag. It was a huge red flag that you were responding in this way, all because you weren't getting your way with me. No. He made my fangs come out. He made the fight come out in me, and I removed myself from people like that, right? Because my confidence, and because of the way that I was raised, my discernment told me to do that. And so it's through experiences like that you get a chance to exercise, right? When you don't allow people to chip away at you, right? But if you have allowed that, right, you can overcome that. You just have to first acknowledge where you are in your self-confidence level, first of all, and then acknowledge how you got there and who was maybe the main culprit or several people or whatever, and then remove yourself, right? Offer yourself some grace, because, ultimately you are responsible for you, and ultimately it was your choice, if you want to say, to stay around or stay in relationships like that, right? But when you know better, you do better. When you know better, you do better, right? And you offer yourself grace and forgiveness, okay? And then you just don't allow, use it as an experience and grow. And if whatever you need to do, if you feel you need more counseling or different things like that. Now, forgiveness is something that we should be offering to our brothers and sisters on a regular basis. Why? Because we ask for forgiveness every day of our sins, right? To God. Sometimes you can tell there is a difference when somebody wrongs you, right? Somebody might wrong you or hurt your feelings genuinely, but they hurt your feelings, but they genuinely didn't mean to. They genuinely, it was not their intention. That they really didn't set out to do that. But they just kind of hurt your feelings, or they said something wrong, or they hurt, whatever it was, right? They just let you down, basically. And in those situations, when you can discern that this isn't a pattern, and the person, maybe they just didn't know any better, or they just kind of, whatever, it was an accident, whatever it was, that's when you offer up forgiveness, first of all, verbally, and you definitely forgive that person, right? But you can discern that this isn't something that they want to do all the time. This is something they're going to keep doing to you, and you don't have to remove yourself from them, right? That's literally called, like putting up. The Bible says keep putting up with one another. The Bible says that keep putting up with your brothers, right? And to try to work out things, like when you can really discern that the intentions were good and that the person really doesn't know any better. And I don't mean so they keep doing toxic things to you, right? Or abusing you. I didn't mean to hit you. Okay? That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, absolutely, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, no. But I mean, like, I didn't mean to not do this or not get that or whatever I said. I didn't intend it to mean like that, or I didn't mean for you to take it that way, or maybe I should have spent more time with you. You were waiting on me to spend time with you, and I was over here staying on the phone and not paying attention to you. And next time I'm going to spend more time with you, or whatever. Like, that's all things that you got to put up with, right? Like, in other words, like, try to work with the person, and it's not toxic. That's just things that kind of hurt your feelings, because you will have conflict, and you will, if any relationships that you have, you will experience conflict. But it's how you handle that and the discernment that you use through that experience, right? It's that part, like understanding that this is not a toxic behavior. This isn't a pattern. This isn't chipping away at your self-confidence. It just rubbed you the wrong way. It just hurt your feelings, or, it's not an on purpose disrespect, constant kind of thing, right? There is a difference. And sometimes people just annoy you, right? Like, as a woman, right? Especially that time of month, we can get annoyed very easily with, somebody who's chewing or popping their gum too loud. And it's like, ugh, can you stop making that noise, right? And you're kind of like annoyed, right? But like, those are all things that are just like, okay, the person might be obnoxious or whatever, and you have to kind of like forgive. Those are not the things I'm talking about, right? Anyway, so I really wanted to talk about discernment. I want to also read the definition of discernment, right? According to the dictionary. Okay, so discernment, you can just like, look that up. Okay, discernment, the ability to judge well. So now, using in a sentence, an astonishing lack of discernment. That was a sentence. Okay, so the definition is of discernment is the ability to judge well. Okay, that's that first sentence that you see right there. So having discernment in situations so that you can judge a person, a situation, a job, a car, whatever, right? People, whatever, right? A situation usually, so that you can judge well, right? Having that discernment is going to help you make better decisions, or make good decisions, or make sound decisions, or at least try to come to some sort of decision-making conclusion or whatever, right? And then that whole experience in general, the more you execute, the more opportunities you get to use your discernment and your decision-making skills in picking a wife, and picking a husband, and picking a house, and picking a car, and picking a job, and picking anything, right? The more opportunities you give to yourself to be able to execute judgment and all of that, right? The more confidence you will gain, and the more wisdom you will gain. So the more experiences that you go through, that you get an opportunity to do that, you literally build your confidence. Like, literally, you start becoming a little bit more self-confident, or confident in your ability, let's say in a job or whatever. Like, once you get practice and you start doing this and that, or becoming if you're a manager in a new role or something like that, it's like, okay, I have used my skills, and now I feel more confident in going after this and this type of job, or the management or the next role or whatever, right? Especially, let's say, even for example, like when you have your first kid, right? You're kind of like scared to death. It's like you might feel like you're holding an egg, right? Because you're afraid of it's like, if I do anything, this baby is so tender and so small or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to drop this baby, or you're just scared for every little thing with your first child, right? It's like every sound they make, you're like, oh, and you're real super, super protective and like, careful about everything. You probably, driving home from the hospital, you're like driving like 3 miles an hour, okay? And it's like, you go through all of that with your first child. But if you have another child, or if you continue to have children, by the time you have your second, third, or whatever, right? You're like a pro. And you're like, okay, you get it. It's like, I can remember when it was time to change diapers. And the men being very scared to change the diaper, especially if it was a baby girl, right? And I have family members, that we experienced this, and it was like, I don't want to hurt her, or, and it's real, and me and my sister-in-law were like, no, we need to smack that thing, move it around, whatever, we got to clean all that, because we know if we don't, it's going to be a problem for her if there's anything left, right, in those folds. Okay, so, and we were not scared. We knew, it was like, we knew what kind of pressure we could apply or whatever to get, and to really get everything we were not scared to get down in there and make sure everything was cleaned out, right? And it's like, people will act that way with their first child a lot, but once you have experience, or you start gaining experience under your belt when it comes to, your children or having children, whatever, then by the second, third, or whatever, you're good to go. You're like, oh yeah, a newborn, you're not scared. You're like, yeah, I got this, whatever. It's because you've gained confidence through experience, right? And so anyway, I'm sharing that. I wanted to kind of continue to close out this, talking about building your confidence, and maybe you've never seen the example of a good husband or a father figure in your life. Like maybe you've just never seen that. And you might be scared if you are the first time trying to get married. Because it's like, why do some young boys jump into getting married so fast or whatever, or they have no problem getting married, under 25, because you see it happens all the time. And then other boys, under 25, or even sometimes in their 30s and 40s, are scared to get married. They have committal issues. They have a hard time actually going to get married or whatever. Why? If you ever think about that, if you ever look at those type of men and you just look at the difference between the two, a lot of times it usually has to do with the boys that have no problem. They'll get married, or they'll, ask a girl to marry her or whatever. They usually had a man in their life. They usually had a father figure, or they were raised with a father figure in the house, or their dad or whatever. And they kind of saw marriage and they kind of get it. It's like they saw that. They had the experience growing up of seeing two people in the house together, right? And they're not over here like wondering how to be a husband, or if they're husband material, right? The other ones, a lot of times, if you look at their background, or you just ask them, and this, because I have literally done this type of experiment and asked, and just talked, and you will find a lot of times those men were not raised with men in the house, or raised with their father in the house, or they were not raised seeing a father and a mother together in a marital arrangement, or they didn't have a lot of examples of marriages in their life, and so they were more scared of it, because for them it seemed like a big question mark. It's like, I don't know what a husband does. And of course they feel that way because they didn't see that. Of course they feel that way because they literally didn't see that growing up. So it's literally like trying to tell somebody who is, not the oldest of a family of like, if you were raised in a big family and you have like 10 kids under you, you're the oldest, you're like the firstborn of like 13 kids, right? And you saw your mom have babies, and you had to watch these babies and take care of these babies and feed them and diaper them and all that kind of stuff, you likely are not even scared of having kids because you've also had a lot of experience with babies in your household, right? And if you see mom and dad together and they're married and you see what dad does and it was a balanced, healthy type of relationship, calm, not crazy, not toxic, okay, then you're like, yeah, this is what, it's like, this is what a husband does. I know what a husband does. My dad put gas in my mom's car. He worked and paid the bills. He always, was a disciplinary or whatever. And mom and him, watched movies every Friday night. It was movie night. Or, they went out on dates, or he brought mom flowers and chocolates every single, every other week or something like that. Or, he did nice things from whatever he saw, different things, or as he saw his father interact with his mom, or like how they overcame arguments and things like that. That's what his reference point is going to be for him. And likely he's going to think to himself, oh yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, I can do that. That's no problem. I can absolutely, I know what to do. I saw my dad do it. I saw, and especially if it was healthy or there was no toxic anything, and especially if there was no real issues, right? Now he might feel some type of way if he did see a lot of toxic things. He might feel like, I'm not sure if I can do that, or I need to do the opposite. I don't want to treat my wife the way I saw my dad treat. Now that's different, right? But in general, you won't have confidence in picking a mate or being a husband or getting married if you didn't really grow up with that type of example. But is that an excuse to not allow love in your life? Is that an excuse to just, be a, non-committal person, let's say, having, babies all over the place or whatever, and just, not really committing to any one person or whatever, right? Like, is that an excuse? Is that a real excuse to not get married or to not have a partner? Now, of course, you can make up your own mind. I'm just sharing what I know from what I've seen in my experiences, right? And I'm hopefully giving you some food for thought. Okay, because you are in control of you, and you can take or leave what I say. Okay? I really don't care. I'm more or less getting my thoughts out. A lot of them, especially for my boys and my children, my boys, their father passed at a young age. And though I did get remarried eventually, and they have their grandfathers and stuff, and they've had good examples of men in their life. And my son was not scared to get married at all. And he does feel more confident in getting married, or at least he definitely started out feeling confident in getting married. He married a narcissist, but whatever. Anyway, he grew through that experience as well. Anyway, the point is that you can take or leave whatever I say, right? So I'm just sharing my experience. But if you have had that experience growing up, if you are a man, a young man or woman or whatever, and you're like, I don't know how to be a wife, or I didn't see this growing up, or my mother wasn't ever able to keep a man. She could never keep a man, or whatever, right? You might feel a little bit lost. And to that, I'd say, first of all, if you are a believer in God, pray. First of all, pray. If you are a man in the Bible, okay, the man was to look for the wife. The man was to go and find the wife. That's what the Bible says. When a man findeth a good woman. Okay, he has to be the one searching. Number one. Number two, there's plenty of examples in the Bible where the man actually prayed to God to guide him, or the servant, because there's an example where you may send your servant to go out and find a wife. Because back then it was different, right? I mean, it was very, very different. But in general, God definitely gave direction as to what type of woman he felt would be acceptable for his servants, right? They couldn't be pagan, right? They couldn't be like pagan worshipers. Remember, he was like, don't get these women of the land who are out there going to bring in all kind of Baal worship and false god deities and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, he was very clear about all that kind of stuff, right? The point is that the man is the one that's supposed to go out and find a wife. So that means you should not have a woman chasing you down. Okay, the woman is not supposed to go finding the man, and she should not be chasing anybody down, and she shouldn't be trying to like force you or force your hand to marry her. She should not be finding you and trying to hog tie you to make you marry her, especially if because she had your child, and you have a woman who's over here like, you have to get married to me, and all, it's just, that's actually like all out of balance and out of whack. Okay, it's just out of whack. Okay, and so first of all, pray. Second of all, I would get schooled up in knowledge to gain confidence on people, anybody who you might see who actually have had successful marriages. Successful, happy, successful, stable, happy marriages. That's number one, or that's number two, right? You could seek counsel in that way. Okay, real life question and answer. And then also, I would read or, listen to podcasts or videos or whatever on, marriage advice that, you don't have to take everybody's marriage advice, right? But in general, especially when you listen to different schools of thought and whatnot, you can start to form some basic guidelines, especially if they're Christian based, right? You can start to kind of at least start feeling knowledgeable, right? Start building kind of like a reference point. Okay. And getting kind of different maybe viewpoints. But specifically, like me, I have read I read the common books, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. I read that definitely in my 20s. I still have the book. That's a very basic, a classic book, right? I read the Love and Respect book. I've read His Needs, Her Needs. Of course, I've read the Bible, of course, and I've done my own research when it comes to that. And then there's been other, I've read some other publications that were from my congregation on the jw.org, the family book and the marriage book. Like I've definitely read those. And I grew up with a good example, right? So even with growing up with a good example and all of that, I still acquired knowledge and sought out more knowledge on how to make sure and break down like what's acceptable and different things, right? Okay, because nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect, right? It is helpful and easier when you happen to run into your soulmate, like I did with my first husband who passed away. I kind of got very fortunate with him, and yeah, we were together 17 and a half years, okay? And it just, we naturally bounced back to each other. And that helped because that gave me a motivation to grow and get stronger and get better as a wife. Okay. Sometimes though, if you have a bad experience your first time, you come out of it thinking like, oh my God, I never want to get married again. I never want to do that again. That was horrible. Okay. And so a lot of times I would say that's the majority because you probably did not marry your soulmate initially. You might have, married somebody out of guilt or out of, maybe being forced to, or if it was an arranged thing or something, or maybe you just felt like you had to because it was cheaper to keep her, this, that, and the other, right? And in those situations where you didn't actually seek her out and actually find a good woman, like, prayerfully, and God actually placed her as a gift in front of you, right? Then you probably experience many obstacles, and you might come out feeling haggard and torn and with your ego bruised or your confidence lowered, or still with more question marks and trying to think to yourself like, I don't know, I'll never want to do that again. That felt like misery, or whatever. Because I hear about that kind of stuff all the time and from different people. Believe me, I have so many customers. And us women, we talk. This is what we do for the 45 minutes that I'm on your face or whatever. Us women, we talk, right? And guys too. Men definitely have a lot to say, right? About their relationships and stuff. So anyway, I'm trying to give you this as just something to think about, right? And if you do that, if you think about kind of just your point of reference, and if you have a point of reference, and if you don't, then it would be to your benefit to put yourself in school, like gain some knowledge on successful marriages